In this video, I'm going to explain what figurative language is and how to use it. So what is figurative language? Figurative language is when you use a word or phrase that does not have its normal, everyday, literal meaning. Why should you use figurative language? Figurative language creates vivid pictures, ideas, and feelings in a reader. So as a writer, you should use figurative language because it makes your story and your writing more vivid, more interesting, more emotional to your reader. Because as a writer, and as you guys, as students, as writers, you want to make sure your story and your piece of writing is interesting to your audience, to your readers. There are many types of figurative language. I'm going to cover them all here with 2 examples for each, but I'm happy to go more in depth with any of them. Just leave me a note in the comments and I'll create another one specifically talking about one type. The first type is a simile. A simile is a comparison of 2 things using words like or as. See like right here? And as. So similes and metaphors can sometimes be confused for each other. The easiest way to know the difference between a simile and a metaphor is similes will always have the words like and as. So see right here, Wes's schedule keeps him busy as a bee. Her attitude towards him was as cold as ice. So see as, busy as, and as cold as. Okay. Metaphor. It's a direct comparison of 2 things. It does not use like or as. So do you see how it's very similar from a simile, which is also a comparison of 2 things? Similes use like and as, and metaphors do not. 2 examples are the classroom was a zoo. So what this is saying, I'm not really saying that my classroom is a zoo with a bunch of wild animals. What I'm saying with the classroom was a zoo, I'm saying that it was busy and crazy and hectic and wild. Like a zoo can be those things as well. And the alligator's teeth are white daggers. So a dagger is a type of weapon. An alligator's teeth aren't an actual like man-made weapon, but they're as white and sharp and dangerous as something that could be a man-made weapon. That's what this sentence means here. We're comparing an alligator's teeth to something we already know is dangerous. Alliteration is repeated sounds at the beginning of words. A lot of superheroes have alliterations for their names, like Wonder Woman and Peter Pan. And then, so alliterations can just be 2 words, but it's the proper definition is 2 or more words is alliteration. So Wonder Woman and Peter Pan, that can be considered alliteration. Alliteration could also be a full sentence or phrase that's using all the same sounds or letters at the beginning, repeated sounds or letters. So Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. That all has a p sound at the beginning of it. That's why that would be an example of alliteration. If you look up tongue twisters, a lot of tongue twisters have alliteration because it's hard to keep making that repeated sound over and over. Personification. Personification is when an object is given human qualities. I like to think about it as an object is getting person characteristics. So personification, person qualities are given to an object. That's the way that I always remembered when I was young. So personification is giving person characteristics, person qualities, person-like qualities to things that are not people. For example, lightning danced across the sky. Can lightning really get out on a dance floor and dance? No. It's saying that lightning was striking across the sky, and it looked as if it was dancing because it was moving all around. And doesn't it sound more interesting to say the lightning danced across the sky than to say something in your essay like lightning was striking over and over, right? Do you see how much more beautiful and vivid and emotional that sounds? Another example is the wind howled in the night. Does a wind have a mouth and lungs to actually like howl and make the howling sound? No, it's wind, right? But it's saying what this is saying is the wind was noisy and maybe it made a howling sound. So that's what that means. Onomatopoeia is by far the most popular among all the students I've had so far. I don't know if that's a coincidence or something with the way I teach it, but onomatopoeia is very fun. It's very common in comic books and pop art, actually, if any of you are interested in that as well. So examples of it are boom, knock knock, and swish. Onomatopoeia is sound words that are making sound. So a word that sounds like the name the sound is named. So boom, knock knock, swish. You could do something like pow, bang, bonk, boom. Any of those are onomatopoeia. It's basically sound effects. Now, a lot of students put quotation marks around their onomatopoeia. So they'd write something like this. Swish with quotation marks in all caps. It's actually not the proper way to cite it. The proper way to cite it is just to put it in italics. So this little I right here. So you want, and I actually have all of my examples in italics. So you want to make sure that all of these are italicized, that they're in italics here, okay? That's the proper way of citing it. And it does not have to be in all caps. Students, a lot of the time, students will make them all caps. But the rule of thumb I always use is if it's going to be a loud noise, you can put it in all caps. If it's going to be a softer noise, you could put it in lowercase letters. So if I was to do like a squeak of a mouse, I could do squeak. Because a mouse wouldn't be squeaking really loud, right? And then just a period. And that's all. Okay. Hyperbole is an extreme exaggeration. People use hyperbole a lot more than I think they realize. I'm very guilty of it. I have a tendency to say things like, oh, I have so many things to do, or this house is a disaster when it's messy, when it's really not a disaster. It's just messy, right? So a couple other examples are, this is the worst day of my life, which usually when we say that, it's not the worst day of our life. We're just having a rough day. Or my parents will kill me if I don't finish my homework, but nobody's parents are actually going to kill them if they don't finish their homework, or at least I hope not. And so they're really just saying you'd be in trouble, right? So hyperbole is just an extreme exaggeration of a feeling or an action. An idiom is a common saying with a meaning completely different from its dictionary meaning. So cross your fingers. Usually you'd say cross your fingers and you're trying to tell someone that you're like hoping for them, that something will happen. You're keeping your fingers crossed for them. But we're not really sitting there with our fingers crossed, right? We're trying to tell that person that we're being hopeful for them. We're keeping our fingers crossed. We're hoping. I'm all ears. I'm not one giant ear. I'm a human, right? So I'm not saying that I'm all ears. I'm all made of ears. I'm saying that I'm listening to you. You have my full attention of my ears. I'm listening to you fully, so fully that I'm all ears. Okay, so these are some examples here. I'm happy to go more in depth for anybody out there, but I hope it can at least get you started.